So today is Greatest Takeaway Sundays, and this week my greatest takeaway is really insecurity. So to give a little example, this week I made a little C major improvisation over a fast backing track. I chose a fast backing track because that's where it would be most appropriate to play fast, and I'm also comfortable with faster chord changes. These were all diatonic changes, so literally just playing a major scale Ionian mode will be very consonant throughout that. You could hit all the chord tones that way, right? So I did this playing, and I honestly felt like I played it quite safe overall. I really stayed diatonic. I stayed with the notes that were in the key signature, and I've watched it back several times throughout the week, and I also got a lot of different responses from it. I actually got a lot of engagement, and some of the engagement was not to my liking. Some of that engagement was, your notes. People talk about me not accenting chord tones, which I definitely did. Um, but to what someone perceives that as, um, it just depends. Sort of, one, can they even identify what chord tones actually sound like when uh, hearing a lot of notes? Can they discern which ones are chord tones and which ones aren't? Right. Two, uh, me lining up notes with the time and being able to place them is something that I consider a priority when I'm improvising. Right now, again, I felt like I played this very safe because I did things that I've done before in the past a lot. I played, some sweeping, but it was just literally the arpeggios of the chords. It was C, A minor, F major, and G major, right? So, there was a little bit of that, nothing too crazy. Um, I did use like a G sharp diminished seven, which is a really cool harmony, actually over the F major chord, which turned it into a minor feel. So even though it was a major sounding um, uh, accompaniment, it actually, the lead I created gave it more of a darker minor feel, which I was really psyched on actually, and so I banked that into it. And I was like, oh, all right, yeah, because they share a chord tone, and then even the substitute of F major D minor, it uses that, so it's like it shares one chord tone with the F major, but then the rest and then act as extensions. So just a very cool move. And that's the kind of stuff I like to do because it really allows me to develop myself as a player. Doing the same thing over and over again is so boring for me. I've been playing for 22 years now at this point, and doing the same thing over and over and over again is, I don't even want to play. But I did this because I saw a post where someone was asking about how to play over C major, and so I figured I would just play over C major, and I would do it again in a sort of very safer, more accessible, consonant way, staying diatonic, not doing anything too crazy. But at the same time, I also feel like I let myself down as an artist a little bit. And when I got some of the negative feedback, it, one, made me very angry, but two, it made it so that when I thought about, well, what if I did what I wanted it to do? It would have been even less successful, which made me feel even more discouraged, right? Because my whole goal of delivering these lessons and delivering these values is that people see the difference in the way that I go towards their goals and their specific goals. And I often, and this has been my experience as a teacher, I often feel like what people do is that they, and I did this myself as a student so much, and was fortunate to have a lot of great teachers who really sort of helped me understand this about myself. But what happens so often is that people overestimate their abilities significantly to be able to get their results quickly, right? Because they feel like they can outsmart, or I should say, we feel like we can outsmart, because I am no way exempt from this, but we feel like we can outsmart. So then when I'm meeting with someone who's just sort of very limited and wants to pick my brain for some things, like those are the people who just do not stay with me very long because uh what I want them to do is to do something outside their comfort zone so they can actually become a new player. So I have this desire for myself very much. And I feel like, I might even need to go back through that track and, design a different lesson out of it and play over it the way that is more exciting for me now. And always brings to mind the a quote I read from John Christopher Williams, the great classical guitarist, about you have to have a healthy disregard for the audience. And this was in relation to something I was reading many years ago about performance anxiety. You have to have a healthy disregard for the audience. So here is like literally at the time the world's most successful and famous classical guitarist of the day, saying that he doesn't care about what the audience thinks, and it kind of blew my mind. And now that I'm engaging with an audience, I'm building an audience, and I'm helping an audience. Um, of course, I care about what the audience thinks, unless it's not positive. If the audience is thinking something negative, that's either not allowing me to sustain bringing this insight, which I feel is valuable to people who I think might want it, might want to hear it, might want to experience that, then that actually doesn't align with my objective. And those people don't align with my objective as an artist and as a teacher and as a player. So if I'm going to continue playing, and I think this the reason why I'm talking about it all is because I feel like so many people are insecure, and I know so. I mean, many of the students that I've worked with are very insecure, right? And that's because comparison is the thief of joy, right? We see people who do great things, we see people who we admire and want to be able to play like, and oftentimes we'll work towards those things, and almost, just sort of my personality, I'll often sort of almost expect someone to kind of subconsciously have experienced this very high level kind of stuff already and to know about it and to compare my playing to that. But, when I played this C major improv, it got very interesting because some people were just talking about the guitar, others were just like, I can't keep track of that many notes, or this is bad. You should listen to Steve Winwood, which was a great one. Um, and which I have, by the way. In the past, not once this person recommended me. I blocked them, by the way. It's very important to me that people actually get something positive. All I really want to be doing is delivering a lesson. So the whole point of playing over the C major track was here's some things you could do over C major track, especially once you know all your notes and you're using that method to access your music theory and all that, right? But again, I think I played it very safe, and I feel like I played it very safe. And I feel like my insecurity caused that, and I now I now am questioning and curious enough, and the curiosity is the best thing because once you have curiosity, then there's potential for growth. Once your curiosity is dead, your growth is dead. That I've experienced. That's where all the plateaus are, and that's where we're not willing to work for our results. So that's a different thing. But at this point, yeah, I'm curious about, starting to play over some things in a way that I like a bit more and doing it even less for the audience. And I feel like I'm going to be more empowered by doing that. And I now have to test if that's true. And I'm going to enjoy doing that. So that is my spiel on insecurity. It's all about doing what you want and being able to enjoy it as you do it. And anything that detracts from that is a distraction. And it is as artists, it's our job to stay focused on our art. That's how I feel, at least. Total opinion, but that's how I feel. Thanks. Have a great Sunday.